Thank you, Parmeshwar. Good morning to you and good morning to all our viewers. I come to you from live outside the Parliament, and it's an important day today. It's an important day because it's day 7 of the Parliament, and it's also a day to test if the breakthrough that we talked about yesterday between the opposition parties and the government in the Parliament to end the deadlock that we saw in the last 6 days has finally ended. If there's been any sort of breakthrough or, for that matter, resolution of sorts. In fact, both houses are set to convene at 11 a.m. today, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and this happens after continuous disruptions, adjournments that both houses saw in the last 6 days. There's a lot on legislative agenda. There is the banking laws that is supposed to get introduced today. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is going to introduce that, and that will actually make the lives of depositors easy. It's going to increase the number of nominees, and it's also going to make the banking experience in India slightly better. That's what the bill intends to do. There's also the Oil Fields Regulation Act, which will look at changing the way, significantly, the way how hydrocarbon exploration is done in India. There's also the Railway Amendment Bill and also the Aviation Bill. Aviation sector is something that has seen a lot of ups and downs in the last few months. So clearly a lot on a legislative agenda. But the big question is, will any of that be taken up considering what really happened in the last 6 days? But remember, yesterday there was an important breakthrough. The government has decided to have 4 days of debate on Constitution of India. This was something that the opposition has been demanding. On 13th and 14th, we will witness this debate in the Lok Sabha, and in 16th and 17th, we will witness this debate in the Rajya Sabha. The Prime Minister himself could be responding to this debate, which makes it all the more symbolic. The Gandhis could be part of this. All that is for us to wait and watch. And remember, the opposition leaders are also meeting at Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress President's chambers in the Parliament complex today to devise a Parliament strategy that could be accommodating of all their interests. Remember, there are fissures and fault lines which have erupted in the India bloc as well, with the Congress party insisting on, having a debate on the Adani issue, something of the bribery allegations which the group has completely denied, and the opposition parties, the other opposition parties, including Samajwadi Party and TMC, raising other issues that are of more meaning and consequence to people of the country, and in some ways breaking ranks with the Congress party. So we'll have to wait and watch how accommodating the Congress party gets, or if it does not really, or if it charts its own path. We'll have to wait and watch for that. Remember, yesterday was also Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar's important statement on India-China relations, on the disengagement talks that have happened. Remember, the implementation has already taken place in Ladakh, but we'll have to wait and see if that statement is made. Let me go across to my colleague Aishwarya, who's been tracking the Parliament very closely for us. Aishwarya, tell us what all is expected today.
Well, Vasudha, adding to that, it is Samajwadi Party who had been given permission during the floor leaders meeting that was called by the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, that they can raise the issue of Sambal during the 0 hour as well, and the Trinamool Congress, who wanted to raise the issue of violence over Hindus in Bangladesh, that could be in fact raised by the Trinamool Congress in the 0 hour as well. But the deadlock that had continued for the first week of the winter session of Parliament, that is something that we will that will come to an end today, because it was the opposition MPs and the Treasury benches MPs who had been stating that there had been some midpoint that had arrived as far as the entire Lok Jam is concerned. They had agreed to the constitution debate, and that's what the opposition MPs have written earlier to the Lok Sabha Speaker and Rajya Sabha Chairperson. The dates have now been decided for both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha for the constitution debate, and of course Prime Minister might intervene in this debate as well. The Congress party had been saying that they also wanted to express their views on the adoption of Constitution of India. Of course, we have seen the debate that had lasted for almost 6 months from now in several of the election rallies, where the Congress party had been saying that they are the real followers of the Constitution of India, and it is the Bharatiya Janata Party who is doing and photo op opportunity. In fact, Rahul Gandhi in one of his rallies went on to say and challenged Prime Minister Narendra Modi that he had even not read the constitution book of the country as well. So that will be very interesting to see on 13th or 14th in Lok Sabha, where this debate will take place, and in Rajya Sabha on 16th and 17th of December, when the dates had been finalized. Apart from it, yes, of course, the government is in a view that there should be constructive debates that should take place, and therefore important legislative bills are to be tabled for consideration and passing as well. As you rightly mentioned, in the Rajya Sabha, there are two bills that are going to table as far as the Vayuyan Vidhayak 2024 and the Oil Fields Amendment Bill. In the Lok Sabha, two of the important bills are scheduled for for tabling the all-important Banking Amendment Bill and the Railway Amendment Bill as well. But certainly, it is the important opposition block meeting that is going to be taking place inside the Parliament complex at Mallikarjun Kharge's chambers, where the opposition will be strategizing as to how to go ahead in this winter session of the Parliament. Of course, several adjournment notices that had been given. Gaurav Gogoi had given an notice on discussing the Manipur issue. It is Mr. Vijay Kumar of the Congress party who had been asking for fund release, immediate fund release for the cyclone that had affected in the state of Tamil Nadu. So all of those will be entertained as well today, and we will hopefully see a better Parliament, a constructive debate today between the opposition MPs and the Treasury benches as well.
Right. Thank you, Aishwarya, for joining us with those critical details. We'll keep coming back to you as you are tracking this session closely. Let me bring in my guests now. Aarti Jairat, political and social analyst. We also have Charu Pragya representing the BJP. We have Salem Dharanidharan representing the DMK. Thank you all of you for joining me this morning. Good morning to you. Charu Pragya, to you first. I remember in, last term of the government and even before that, there was this allegation that the BJP uses its sheer strength of numbers to ensure that the bills get passed. There's no debate. But clearly with the numbers, of course, being there, but not really as much as we saw in 2019 and 2014, do you think that the government's governance agenda is being affected with these constant disruptions? And are you confident that the government will actually find a way out?
Sudha, good morning, and a very good morning to my fellow panelists as well. Let's remember that every single day, every single minute of the parliament functioning is critical and important to the citizens of this country. I'm not even going to get into how much money is being wasted session after session after session. In fact, I drew up a list to show how in the last 3 to 4 years, not even one parliament session has been allowed to function somewhat normally. But when you talk about building consensus, Vasudha, I think Modi Sarkar has always been very good at that. Because if you remember way back in 2014-15, before the numbers in Rajya Sabha started changing, important bills were pushed through and they were all done by consensus, because getting those bills passed in Rajya Sabha when we didn't have the required numbers used to be quite a challenge. They were done smoothly and they were done in the most appropriate manner. So I still think that consensus building, working together with other political parties is something which comes very naturally to the NDA. We might have to do a little more focusing on making sure the parliament functions though, and that has been one thing which has been bothersome. The last 5 days were a complete washout. It's not just the NDA's MPs who are speaking up about this. Now suddenly India Alliance leaders are also speaking up and saying this level of wastage of the parliament time is just not done.
Right. Let me go across to Salem Dharanidharan. Dharanidharan, how do you see this whole fig leaf that has also been offered to the opposition? Because the government has decided to have this debate on the Constitution of India, something that the opposition has been wanting for, and this is a great opportunity for the opposition also to talk about several things that they feel is wrong with the BJP's form of governance. How do you see this, and also what is the DMK's point of view when it comes to running of the government? Because everybody really running of the parliament session, because clearly one of the parties with a high number of MPs, you do want the parliament to run and the legislative agenda to be taken up, isn't it?
I think the parliament is very important to have a functioning parliament. The problem is ever since 2014 Modi came with a thumping majority, the number of days the parliament works started to reduce. The number of minutes takes for a bill to be discussed in the parliament kept reducing. In fact, in the last parliament from 2019-2024, some bills were not even discussed for a minute. They were just the opposition MPs were thrown out of the house, and then the bills were just passed in seconds, dozens of bills. And we also saw how some bills were passed as money bills. That case is still pending in the Supreme Court. We've seen how ordinance route was taken to discuss to pass some bills. So I think that this government does not believe in discussion, and I think that's our problem. In democracy, right? When you protest in democracy, I think that's also a form of democracy. When bills are not being discussed, when bills are passed as money bills, when very important issues such as Adani, where the Prime Minister and the ruling party, the BJP, is implicated, and that is not discussed, I think you need to resort to protest, because if they don't do it, then how will you make them do it? Through protest, right? We got independence through protest. So the opposition parties,
Okay.
we all been asking for different issues.
Okay.
Samajwadi has been asking to discuss Sambal issue, the Trinamool Congress about the Bangladesh issue, right? The Congress as such and DMK on the Adani issue. So we've been asking for this, and they're not been doing. We saw how the NDA behaved from 2009 to 2020, 2009 to 2014. They never let the parliament to function, even though the bills were then being discussed because of the coalition government. All the bills were being discussed. There's no bill that was passed as a money bill, of course, unless it's a money bill. Here, the regular bills are being passed as money bills. There's no discussion whatsoever, right? So then, how do we make
Okay.
the
Let me get a quick
function?
response from Charu before I go to Aarti. Charu, would you like to quickly respond to that?
Yeah, well, I would like to remind the opposition spokesperson that when your own alliance partner Mamta Banerjee has an issue with the way the time of the parliament is being wasted, when Sharad Pawarji makes a statement and says that in some kind of a stubbornness you pick up the same issue which is actually not resonating with the people of India, maybe you should do some introspection. Even the Kerala chief minister has spoken out against what has been happening in the parliament in recent times, and maybe some internal consultation will do you good. See, the issue has now become that the stubbornness of one opposition leader is driving the narrative in a way which is a waste of time for every political party, not just the parties in power. That needs to stop. Session after session after session is being washed out because you're unwilling to listen. And if you think that debates are not happening in parliament, every time a debate happens in parliament or an important leader of the NDA stands up to speak, the India Alliance leaders stage a walkout. Your outstanding MPs always standing outside parliament but never bothering to be inside and listening in to what is being said by the government. So if you want to walk out, you cannot blame the other side.
Okay. Aarti Chairath, how do you view this, ma'am? Because, while there is, a lot of celebration in the BJP camp with these successive electoral victories with both Haryana and Maharashtra, the numbers at the central level remain the same, 240 MPs, and the Congress has 99 MPs. So clearly, but the Congress party also needs to understand that mood of the public often changes within months. So how important is it for the Congress party to also ensure that the parliament runs, and how important is it for the government to also, maybe give that space to the opposition to ensure that the House functions?
Yes, Vasudha. You see, I think for the Congress party, it is quite a dilemma because they have done so badly in the last two elections. One in Haryana, where they were in direct competition with the BJP, and in Maharashtra, where, their whole alliance kind of really collapsed in front of the Mahayuti challenge. So, for the Congress party, that Josh of winning 99 seats is kind of wearing thin now. And it also no longer commands that kind of dominance and that kind of, sort of strength within the India alliance to assert itself. As we've seen, and as you saw, that, there was a kind of difference of opinion within the India alliance on several issues, the issues that the Congress was insisting on raising. One was, of course, the Adani issue, and also on the fact that Mamta Banerjee very clearly stated that people's issues should be raised, and Rahul Gandhi's response to that was that isn't EVMs and Adani people's issues. So, there is now kind of wearing on, the Congress party's ability to carry its alliance partners is under a cloud. I think the Congress party will have to be a little more humble within the alliance, and the Congress party will have to listen to what its alliance leaders are saying rather than keep pushing its own agenda in parliament. Now, whether this will lead to smooth functioning of parliament, whether we are going to see debate and discussion, I don't know, because, the other parties in the India Alliance also have their own issues to raise, right? And, they are going to raise those issues. So we have to wait and watch at 11 o'clock when parliament opens to see what the mood inside the House is, what the mood inside the opposition camp is, and what the mood inside the BJP is. I think, within the BJP also, I mean, this Maharashtra, the inability to choose a chief minister is now beginning to tell. So, and these moods keep changing. So we have to wait and watch. I would be hesitant to say that yes, I think everything is resolved.
That's a very valid point. Selam Tharanidharan, in the last few months, we've also seen a lot of issues centered around South being taken up. You know, there was an MP from Tirupati who was basically talked about parliament sessions, the need for parliament sessions to also be held in the south of India. There's a cyclone that's happening that Tamil Nadu is going through. Rainfall is something that the state is facing. And of course, TFR is constantly being debated. Federalism has always been in the spotlight. What are the issues that the DMK hopes to raise in this parliament session, something that is of consequence to the people of the state?
Okay, too many questions. But firstly and foremost, the very important issue for us, right, in order to protect the democracy and federalism of this country is to freeze the delimitation exercise. The delimitation is going to come in 2026, and we want it to be frozen for another 25 years because we don't want the South to be penalized because we follow the union government policy of the 1970s. When you will redraw constituencies, the influence of the South in the parliament will further reduce. Even though we contribute about 40% of the country's GDP, representation in the South gets only about 24% or 23% of the parliament. If delimitation comes, it's going to reduce to 17%. I think that's one very important issue. Now, all the southern chief ministers, southern state chief ministers, we all feel that one nation, one election does not bode well again for federalism because we feel that union issues may have importance over the state issues, and that's not good for federalism. And another important thing is that the money that we get is being drastically reduced, right? Because of increase in cess and surcharge, the money that we get from the overall pool is not 42% as recommended by the Finance Commission, but it's 32%. And I think that's problem one. And problem number two is that there are a lot of union governments
last word.
To be partners.
Okay, last word from Charu Pragya. Charu, very quickly, what is your expectations from today? How optimistic are you of the House running today?
Well, it is my duty to be optimistic, Vasudha, and I really hope the House does manage to run in a decent manner because at the end of the day, it is us, the taxpayers of the country, who are paying for every single session, every single minute. Lakhs of money goes down the drain every minute when the opposition doesn't allow the House to function. So I hope constructive debates begin, these important bills get passed, and I'm looking forward to the constitutional debates which will be coming up in the next couple of days.
Right. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. In a few minutes from now, both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, will reconvene, and we'll have to wait and see if the breakthrough that we talked about with the Speaker talking to floor leaders of different parties yesterday actually takes shape today and legislative agenda is taken up. Back to you.
As always, Vasudha, thanks so much for joining us with the Parliament Lowdown. Let's